All right, welcome everyone. Today we are talking about integrated math, practice 12. We are factoring trinomials at a level 2. We've been factoring trinomials at level 1. Those are the easier kind. These are the harder kinds, level 2. And what can make a factoring trinomials more complicated is something known as leading coefficients. Okay? Leading means the front of the line, and coefficients are numbers in front of variables. So notice this one, for example, has a leading coefficient of 2. The first thing we'd like to do in this situation is take a look and see if all three numbers in the trinomial can be divided by that leading coefficient. Because if they can, then we want to be able to factor out that number at the beginning. So notice that all these numbers, 2, 14, and 24, can all be divided by 2. That's good news for us. If that's the case, we're going to write down the 2, and then we're going to open up a large parentheses behind it. For this to be a legal move, we have to be able to put a trinomial in here so that if 2 were to go back through the distributive property, it would end right back up with this guy. So what would 2 have to multiply to become 2x squared? Well, we'd need an x squared right here. What would 2 have to multiply to become 14x? A 7x. And what would 2 have to multiply to go back to positive 24? You would need a positive 12. Once you're in this situation, notice that the trinomial inside is the type that we're used to, the level 1 trinomial. So keep your 2 in front, but now you can open up your 2 parentheses. To get x squared, it had to have been x times x. To get 12, it could have been 1 times 12, or 2 times 6, or 3 times 4. According to the back sign, we're looking for numbers that add to make the number in the middle. The numbers that add to make 7 are 3 and 4. If the back sign is a plus, the signs have to be the same, and then they'll both be whatever's in the middle, so they're both going to be positive. Make sure you leave that factored out 2 at the beginning in front of your answer, and you're good to go. Taking a look at the next one, 9x squared plus 18x minus 135. All of these numbers can be divided by 9, so I'm going to factor out 9. What would go inside? X squared plus 2x minus 15. 9 times x squared, 9x squared. 9 times 2x would be 18x. 9 times negative 15 would be negative 135. But now the inside is a level 1 trinomial. I'm used to this. X times x would give me my x squared. 2 numbers here would multiply to make 15. That could have been 1 times 15 or 3 times 5. My back sign is a minus, so I'm looking for numbers that subtract to make this middle number. That would be 3 and 5. My back sign being minus, I know these answer signs have to be different, and the bigger number is going to get whatever sign is in the middle. 5 is bigger than 3. The middle sign is plus, so we give the 5 a plus and the 3 a minus. Moving down, this leading coefficient is a negative number, so be careful with these. All these numbers, though, can be divided by negative 3. So I'm going to go ahead and factor out negative 3. So, negative 3 times an x squared would make negative 3x squared. And here's the part that can mess students up sometimes. What would negative 3 have to multiply to become negative 12x? Well, it would have to be a positive 4x. Because a negative 3 times a positive 4 would be negative 12. What would negative 3 have to multiply to become positive 15? A negative 5. Now the inside trinomial is level 1. The only numbers that multiply to make 5 are 1 times 5. My numbers should subtract to make 4. 5 minus 1 is 4, so I'm good to go here. Numbers are 1 and 5. Back sign's a negative, so they have to be different. 1 plus, 1 minus. The bigger number, which in this case is 5, we'll get the middle sign, which is a positive. So give him the positive and the other one the negative. Over on to the last one here, I'm going to factor out negative 5. Inside I would need x squared minus 2x minus 8 in order to get back to this original. The inside trinomial is a level 1, so I can start with x and x. Numbers that multiply to make 8 are 1 times 8 and 2 times 4. These numbers need to subtract to make a 2. That would be 2 and 4. Back sign being minus tells me these have to be different signs. So the bigger number, which is 4 in this case, will get whatever sign is in the middle. So he's going to get a negative. He's going to get a positive. Now, unfortunately, they're not all that easy. Down here in the next section, we're going to see one that has a leading coefficient of 2, but not every single number in the trinomial can be divided by 2, like this one earlier. All of these could be divided by 2, so we were able to factor out the 2. But 11 cannot be divided by 2. So when we encounter this situation, we have to go to an alternate strategy. Start with asking yourself, what are the factors of that leading coefficient? Well, the factors of 2 are just 1 times 2. That's the only options we have. What about the factors of 6, the fact number? Well, that could have been 1 times 6 or 2 times 3. And what I'm looking for now is a combination of numbers with these and these that will somehow, according to my back sign, subtract to give me an 11. Now, if you were in class, I was talking about that there's a long way that you could just continue to write out parentheses and so forth and just try all these different variations until you got the one you wanted. But sometimes if you're actually looking, you can see what you need. I need two numbers that will subtract to make 11. Well, notice that if I use these two sets and ignore the 2 and the 3, a 2 times a 6 would be 12, and a 1 times a 1 would be 1. And if I do 12 minus 1, I would get 11. So this must be the combination that works. I'm going to open up my two parentheses. I need a 1x and a 2x. And I need to use 1 and 6 as my back numbers, but I have to be kind of careful here. I have to put them in the right spot. Remember that the 2 needs to multiply the 6 in order to become 12. Here's the 2, so I need to make sure the 6 is in this spot, because 6 times 2x, when I FOIL, will be 12x, and that the 1 would have to be in this spot. Back sign is a negative, so they have to be different signs. The bigger number is going to get the sign in the middle. That's the 12. I need a negative 12 and a positive 1 in order to get negative 11. So I need to make this negative 6 and positive 1. When you're done with this, you can always check and see if your answer is right by taking it off to the side and multiplying, right? If we were to actually go back through the multiplying process, x times 2x is 2x squared. X times positive 1 is positive 1x. Negative 6 times 2x is negative 12x. And negative 6 times positive 1 is negative 6. The two like terms in the middle, if you combine them, would give you negative 11x. Notice that we end up with the same trinomial after multiplying our answer as that we had at the beginning. That lets me know I factored this correctly. Take a look at this one. Factors of 10 are 1 times 10, 2 times 5. Factors of 21 is 1 times 21 or 3 times 7. What I'm looking for, according to my back sign, are numbers that will subtract to make 67. As I look at this and stare at it closely, I notice it has to be these two combinations, because a 7 times a 10 would make 70, right? 7 times 10 is 70, and then 3 times 1 would make 3. And if I did 70 minus 3, I would get 67. So that has to be the combination. So I need a 1x and a 10x. I need to use the numbers 3 and 7, but I got to be strategic about this. I got to put them in the right spot. I need the 7 to multiply the 10 so that I can get 70, right? 7 would have to go here next to the 10 so that the inner in FOIL, the I part, would multiply. And then the other number 3 would have to go there. This is a negative 67, so I need this to be negative 70 and this to be positive 3 in order for them to combine in the middle for negative 67. So what would give me the 70? The 7 times the 10. So I'm going to make him negative so that it's negative 7 times 10, negative 70. And this one positive so that it's positive 1 times positive 3, so that I will get my middle term of negative 67. Okay. All right, there are two more on here, but I'll leave you to do those. I'm going to go ahead and warn you about this one. It can take a while, but don't get discouraged. And then this last one here, focus on the fact that the middle is a big number. That might help you narrow down your list about who you're multiplying. If you need any help with these, feel free to come see me during PLT or during class, and tune in for part 2 to see the backside.